We look at substantive sociology as, let's say, considered by Max Weber. So Weber began his sociology at the levels of, let's say, action and interaction. Now this is more like focusing on something which is a very, very small, micro level kind of situation. So he looked at the action and then the processes which lead to that kind of particular action. But later on, he also looked at the, let's say, large-scale levels of the social world, just like bureaucracy, just like as capitalism. So when we look at the, let's say, focus on bureaucracy or the capitalism as a system, that is moving away from micro to macro level. So maybe he is trying to blend the micro and the macro together. So with that background, when we look at what is sociology, in his book on economy and society, Weber defined sociology just like that. Sociology is a science concerning itself with interpretive understanding of social action and thereby with a causal explanation of the course and consequences. So that's what he is looking at. Social action as an entity, and then what is the process of that action? What were the forces which produced that action, which led to that action, and what are the ultimate consequences of that particular action? So he is looking into the causes and effects of those causes. So that is why he looks at the action insofar as the acting individual attaches subjective meaning to that behavior. So it is not the observer who is trying to guess what does he mean by a particular action by the actor, but he is trying to find out the subjective meaning of the action, and this subjective meaning is by the actor himself or herself. So that is where we look at the micro level kind of thing. So that's दूसरे लफ्जों में आप कह सकते हैं कि this is a subjective approach at the micro level. Subjective in the sense that we are studying the subjects, the human beings, that is looking into their actions from their point of view, from their perspectives, rather than the perspective of the observer or the scientist. So we look at the subjective meanings and then we try to see how to interpret those meanings as done by the actor. So there can be patterns of these individual actions. Patterns means actions could be repeated. There could be regularities in those actions, and not only same action by the same individual, but similar actions by other individuals as well. And when we say other individuals, then you might call them as collectivities or actions by a number of individuals. So we look into that as well. So modes of organization of the particular acts of the individual persons. Modes of organization. Mode means what are the patterns? How do they take place? So what is the way it takes place? So modes of organization, the usual patterns of those organization. So we need to know these patterns, not only the odd kind of action, but the patterns in the behavior of the people, actions of the people. That's from where we can understand, and then we can look into the predictability of those things, and we could also make the comparisons. So we see that from micro level, later on, Weber moved to macro level as well. And as I gave the example of bureaucracy and capitalism earlier, that's where he is trying to look at the micro and the macro level. At the macro level, here focus is not on what individuals do or why they do it. So their action is as part of the bigger structure of the system, which he called as bureaucracy. So actions of those in them are determined by the structure of that particular system, by that system, and he is focusing on bureaucracy as a system, how that system of bureaucracy influences the motives of the individuals, and due to those motives then they take action. Every action has to be looked into the motivating factors or the causes of that particular action. So in his view, sociology is a scientific study of the human behavior that follows a scientific approach. And when we say scientific approach, means it has to follow the scientific method of studying the human behavior. So sociology should be concerned with causality. So we are looking into the, when we say it is a science, then we talk about cause and the consequences, cause and the effects. And thirdly, sociology should utilize interpretive understanding. That's what Weber focused on Verstehen. So that is a interpretive kind of approach suggested by Max Weber.